Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, the current Minister of Interior, has successfully sent a message out to all Nigerians that it won't be business as usual. With an unwavering commitment to President Tinubu's vision of ensuring the security and protection of Nigerian citizens, Tunji-Ojo has met with the heads of agencies under the ministry's supervision. He has vowed to use technology to fortify the nation's extensive borders. The minister also met with the Acting Comptroller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Adepoju Carol Wuola, and the Comptroller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service, Haliru Nababa, to discuss their challenges. Recognizing their pivotal roles in safeguarding national sovereignty, he championed a vision to eliminate passport queue bottlenecks and transform correctional homes into centers of rehabilitation rather than condemnation. Also, he met with the Comptroller General, Federal Fire Service, Jaji O. Abdul Ganiyu, at the service's headquarters in Abuja, where he reiterated his commitment to ensuring that the agency is built and well-equipped for optimal service delivery. Joining us now on the morning show as we take a look at the minister's vision for the Ministry of Interior and the renewed hope agenda for Nigeria is Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, Nigeria's current Minister of Interior. Good morning, Dr. Tunji-Ojo, and welcome to the morning show.
Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Excellent. I must say that we have been looking forward to this conversation, and especially with regards to some of the successes, I must say, we recorded in your ministry and under your tenure, at least so far. One of the things I'd like to start with is your cleanup, the famous cleanup of the backlog of at the passport office. You said you were going to do this in 2 weeks, and you were able to achieve it from your office and your statement in 3 weeks, where you were able to clear up the backlog of over 200,000 passport applications. First of all, how were you able to do this in 3 weeks when the previous administration or previous ministers have found it quite a Herculean task to sanitize that particular process? And then moving forward, your plans to digitize the process whereby you wouldn't need to physically go into the office for the process. Rather, most of the things will be done online, and only for the capture of your biometrics would you need to go into the office. When will this kick in? Because you've promised that that's going to be the future of passport collection in Nigeria. When will this happen, and how have you been able to sustain the collection of passports in record time?
Thank you very much. Once again, thanks for having me, and good morning, Nigerians. As I always say, leadership is about leading from the front. Leadership is about taking responsibility, and leadership is not a game of excuses. Leadership, to me, is a game of getting results. I always say this at every point in time. The president has always told us, his appointees, that he never appointed us to give excuses. The appointments are based mainly on capacity and capability to bring results and to change the trend. Having said that, when I came into office, we discovered that we had backlog to over 204,332. And as I always say, it's quite unacceptable, because for anybody that can afford a passport, it's a right, it's not a privilege. And I believe the era when Nigerians, rights of people are being construed or misconstrued as a privilege is gone. We must let Nigerians know their right is what their statutorily are being citizens of Nigeria entitled to. And it's not just about getting them passport, but timely delivery of service is what is key. It's not about just service delivery, but the time at which you deliver the service is also very key. So what we did was I called the meeting and I told them point blank, this is unacceptable. Tell me your challenges. They told me their challenges. For instance, I'll give you an example. The hot point for us is Alausa. Alausa at that time had backlog of more than 32,000 in Alausa alone. And Alausa had, I think only 2 machines. Yes, Isla printing machine, just 2. And we said that's unacceptable, because how many can a machine print? A machine can print in the course of a shift, like 400. So even if you do 2 shifts, it's going to be like 800. How long will it take you to print 32,000 if you're going to be printing 800. That's assuming the machine is working at 100% efficiency, which is not guaranteed. So what we did was to talk to the service providers and say, hey, we are partners in this. You're not just here to make money. You are here to add value to Nigeria. And we spoke to them. And at the end of the day, we increased within that short time, without paying a dime. We increased our machines in Alausa, for example, from 2 to 4. Ibadan, for example, Ibadan takes care of Ilorin office. Ibadan takes care of Ogbomoso. It takes care of Ibadan itself. It takes care of a couple of places, even Abeokuta printing. We do all these printings in Ibadan. And Ibadan had only 2 machines. We had to increase it to 4. And we had to now prorate and be able to get some of our workers we had to break it to 3 shifts instead of 1 that we had before. We started doing 3 shifts so that at the end of the day, we can be able to cover ground. And we thank God we've covered it. But the most important thing, as I always say, is that the reward for a good work is more work. So it's not about clearing the backlog. It's about making sure we do not go back to that era, never again. And how can we do that? We can only do that by strengthening the institution. We can only do that by building an institution even after Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo as Minister of Interior will continue to sustain itself. Like what Barack Obama said, we must build strong institutions rather than strong people. So these are corporate governance issues that we are trying to put in place now in Ministry of Interior to ensure that we do not go back to that era. Having said that, I also realize that you shouldn't also offer people should not find it difficult accessing their right. This is 2023. I come from an IT-driven background. There is no way, and I repeat it, there is no way somebody needs to go to immigration office a couple of times. Why do you need to cancel a day's job just because you need a passport? Why do you need to stop your kids from going to school for a whole day because you need passport? Why do you need to stop your kids from going to school a whole day just because you also want to go and collect the passport? So we looked at it, critically looking at the whole process flow and saw where technology can be adopted, for instance, without compromising national security, because we must also understand that the passport is a security document. We must also understand that. So in taking our decisions, we must make sure that national security is not in any way compromised. But we can make it a win-win situation. While we enhance national security, we also must also ensure that the people are not made to go through unnecessary pain. We must be able to strike a balance. And what we have been able to do is that by December this year, by the grace of God, because I always say by the grace of God, the giver of life, by the special grace of God, by December this year, in the whole process flow, the only time I expect anybody to go to immigration office is just when we need to take your biometric. When we want to take your biometric, you have to go there and just for like 5-10 minutes, you're done. So it means that even during your tea period, your break period, you can dash in to the passport office, have your biometric taken and go back to work. We don't need to disrupt your entire day's job. We don't need to discuss your process flow just because you want what is ordinarily your right. So the whole process flow, let me just take you through that in 5 seconds. Number one is you go online as it is now, you fill your form. Once you fill online, you upload all your supporting documents, attestation of local government, birth certificate, you do that. And of course, you also upload what's it called, like an affidavit. So an affidavit saying all that you do is true. Because I say this, America has a lot of challenges in terms of international politics and issues. But you apply for all these things online. Canada, you apply online. Why can't we upload our documents online in Nigeria? So you upload all these documents, you pay. Once you pay, the next thing is you pick a date, you just go to the center, you have your biometric taken. Then after you have your biometric taken, that's all. Then the issue is that from February, passports, once issued, will now be delivered to your home or to your office. So you do not need to go back to passport office to go and collect your passport. So those errors, and also apart from the ease on the part of Nigerians, we have to understand that the best way to also prevent corruption is by avoiding human contact as much as possible. Because when you want to go, you can't throw a bone to a dog and say, oh, the dog should be blamed. I mean, the dog should not take it. So we must discourage human contact as much as we can and allow technology to do its job, which is basically to be a catalyst to enhance our performance in terms of service delivery.
Okay, Dr. Tunji-Ojo, I will say congratulations to you, not just on your appointment, because it's of service, you're serving the nation, but congratulations on the successes so far. On Arise News, at this table, our job is first to make sure that we appreciate those who are doing well in government and in other sectors, and also, at the same time, to speak truth to power. In terms of speaking truth to power, having congratulated and said, well done for the things you're doing, one of the areas that brings some concerns to a lot of Nigerians, especially the poorest of the poor, who feel like they're the downtrodden and they are being stepped on left, right, and center, are those who are in the correctional centers. You've got the NSCDC, you've got the correctional centers, you've got the FFS, the fire service, you've got the Nigeria Immigration Service, you've got a number of departments and parastatals that work within your ministry, and you're trying to put them all together. But let's look at the correctional centers. I think about the last report indicated that more than 68, almost 70% of those who are in prison today have not been charged to court. The prison decongestion has been discussed for as long as I can remember. What are you doing in that area? One, to decongest the prisons, and two, to make sure that justice is seen to be served for the downtrodden, the young bus conductor who made the mistake of saying something wrong to a policeman, then gets arrested and he's kept in prison and is in custody for as long as you can remember for doing nothing, just saying something wrong, and he's there, he's not charged to court. Please help us understand, what are you doing about that, and when should we expect to be able to give you a big round of applause to say 68 to 70% of people in prison are now reduced to maybe 10 or 20%?
Okay, thank you so much. I'm so happy talking about correctional service because, as I say, I'm not Minister of Immigration, I'm Minister of Interior. And that means that we must have visible impact in immigration, we must have visible impact in correctional, we must have visible impact in NIMSI, in fire service, and in all other parastatals. Talking about correctional service, immediately I assumed office, the first thing I did was to set up a small committee to be able to review the situation of our correctional centers vis-a-vis the inmates as they are. And we discovered that over 4,000 of these inmates, as I've said before, are still in custody due to inability to pay fines. We looked at how much the total fine is. It's about 500 and something million. And I can tell you we've gone very far dealing with the private sector in terms of CSR and etc., putting this money together. And I'm sure that in the next 3 weeks or 1 month, 4 weeks maximum, because I like to be held responsible for what I say. So let me say in the next 4 weeks, even though we are looking at doing it before then, but I'm giving myself a lag period, a buffer. So in the next 4 weeks, by the grace of God, we'll have been able to pay those fines of over 4,000 people, which will reduce us from the present almost 79,000 inmates to about 75,000 inmates. Having said that, we must also understand that when it comes to decongestion of prison, it's not an entirely Ministry of Interior thing. Yes, Ministry of Interior must play the lead, but obviously we know the Office of the Attorney General, my very good elder brother, my respected brother Chief Prince Lateef Fagbemi, we have spoken about it, and we are going to work very well together, because you cannot just open your gates and say people should go. We must look at setting up that sort of interministerial relationship, which we are already working on, to be able to expedite issues, cases based on administration of criminal justice system, ACJS. So we are already looking in that particular direction. And also, to further decongest, one thing that is within our purview as Ministry of Interior is to be able to activate what makes our correctional centers, which is the non-custodial responsibility of the correctional service. And what is that? It is obviously to decongest our correctional centers. For instance, I'll give you an example. It's the situation of the correctional service is very worrisome. For instance, in the Lagos Command, of all the correctional centers in total, the correctional centers in Lagos was built for like 4,800, if I get my statistics right. But today we have over 9,000 inmates. So that's like over 100% in Lagos alone. So it means that we have to look at the short-term solution, activate that part of the law that gives the Nigerian Correctional Service the powers to engage in non-custodial services. So that's part of the things that we are doing. And yes, a committee is already in place, because I try to plan more, because when you plan, execution becomes very easy. So we are looking at, and once we are able to activate that, it means that we'll definitely decongest our correctional centers by maybe 70%, which would be a very huge one. So we have looked at the financial implication of it. We're already working on that. And I can tell you that in due course, very soon, we'll come back to Nigerians to tell you when exactly this will actually be actualized.
Okay, Minister, congratulations and commendations are bound for you on this table. Real quickly, I'd like to know, number one, how much is it going to cost for complete overhauls of most of the correctional center? And I deliberately asked that because prior to you coming, we used to have jailbreaks, a lot of jailbreaks. And on research, it is discovered that most of those correctional centers don't even have working CCTV cameras. So how much is it going to cost to be able to put all of this in place? Because you need a holistic work across all the correctional centers. And what's going to be the response time when we have jail attacks? Yeah. Now, I like the way you're talking tech and all of that. I'm a big tech person too myself. I like response. What's going to be the response time now? And what's going to be the service protocol to jail attacks? Because we cannot, say they're not going to happen. We need to be able to plan. And I like what you're doing as regards to changing the culture and everything, because culture will eat strategy for breakfast. In a ministry like this, Ministry of Interior, what's going to be the sustainability plan? Going back to the case of passports, as we speak now, how much is it to cost you if you go online to apply for a passport? Because a lot of people do not know the real price, because people apply through proxies that charge extra amounts on them. And how are you going to ensure that the technology you're going to put in place sustains? Because before you know it, a lot of people in the personnel will make it possible to frustrate the technology and will not carry on with the process, and you still have that human contact. And I just got a message here from Twitter. People in the UK say they've not got their passports. So other countries around the world, Nigerian embassies, they're saying they have not gotten their passports. Minister? Okay,
thank you very much. Let me start from the last part, if you don't mind, yes. So that, the correctional service is one I would really want to take time to explain. Yes. Let me start from the issue of Nigerians in diaspora. We're working very hard on that. I'll tell you the major problem. The major problem in Nigeria with diaspora is that, I'll give you an example of Canada, for example. I always give that example. Canada is the second biggest nation on earth in terms of land mass, only second to Russia. Now, Canada has only one passport office. That is unacceptable. And of course, government might not be able to afford creating passport offices all over and whatever. But we have to look at how to collaborate with private sector. And that's why we have said, by the grace of God, by February latest next year, that's the date we've given, we will have passport front offices all over the world. For instance, in UK, you have to, if you are in Aberdeen, or you are in Dundee, or you are in Cardiff, or you're in Manchester, or in Birmingham, or Wolverhampton, you have to come all the way to London for your passport. And because of that, once there is an over-demand for something, corruption sets in. People try to take advantage. So the best way to avoid corruption is to make these things available to people at the doorstep. And it's not just going to be in diaspora. I'll give you an example. If you are in Lagos, or you are in Abuja, nothing stops you if you are living in Lokogoma, you are living in Wuse or in Metama. Why can't you have a place you can walk in for your capture and know that you get these things at home? So these are the things we are trying to do by creating front offices. But I can assure those that have been captured in the diaspora, we are working very hard to make sure that we solve this problem, because we have a lot of issues with regards to even getting dates for people because of the population vis-a-vis the facility. So I can assure them that we're working very hard, and we have sorted the domestic issues. Now we are focused on the diaspora, and in the next 2-3 weeks, by the grace of God, we will make sure. I like to be held responsible for what I say. We'll make sure that those that have been captured get their passports within the next 2-3 weeks in diaspora. That's one. And also, by February, we'll make sure that there will be a seamless thing. We'll take passport offices closer to them, just for the purpose of biometric capture. And of course, they will not need to go to the embassy to be captured. They will not need to go to the embassy to collect their passport as it is now. They will be able to sit in their homes and get that. That is that about that. Then on the issue of, you asked me about the issue
price
of the correctional center.
No,
I'm happy
price.
with what you said.
How much is it now?
Okay, yes,
to
the
get
price.
a passport?
Thank you.
Not additive fee, just passport.
Okay, for the... No, I understand. I skipped my mind. My apologies. For the price, if it's a 5-year passport, which is about 34 pages, it's 35,000 naira. That's it. If it's a 10-year passport, which is 64 pages, it is 70,000 naira. That is the price. And I personally don't understand why people will be using proxies at this point. Why I said so is that payment is online. You pay online, then you just go for capture. I understand the whole congestion in the whole process. Maybe that was why people were using proxies before now. But I want to plead with our people that this is what you can do on your own. And by December, even your document, everything, even your passport picture will be uploaded online. The only thing is your fingerprint. Nobody will do your fingerprint in your absence. So please do not pay to anybody. I want to specially plead, do not pay to anybody. It's 35,000 and 70,000. And let me also use this opportunity to say this. I'm also trying to look at possibility of reviewing our passport policy. I personally think, just like it's done in the US, like it's done in UK, we might need to adapt one way or the other, because if for people under the age of 18, I think we can do 5-year passport for them. It's still an idea, still working up. We'll still engage in consultations to get the buy-in of critical stakeholders. But for people above 18, I think 10-year passport should be what we should have, like it's done in most of other countries. Why? It's because it also helps us to reduce congestion. It helps us to reduce workload, because it means that if you have a 10-year passport, we are not expecting you to come and renew unless you misplace your passport. We are not expecting you to come and renew in the next 10 years. All but right. If it's 5 years, the rate of renewal keeps increasing. And by and large, 35,000, 70,000 is still the same amount over that period of time. That is an option. It's something we are still working on. We'll look at the viability of it, so that at the end of the day, on the supply side, we can also guarantee supply, because at the moment, sometimes you stock like maybe 60% of 10 year, 40% of 5 years. And at the end of the day, when demand comes, one is higher than one, and you cannot meet up with those demands. These are part of the issues causing backlog. So it's all an option we are looking at. But now to the issue of correctionals. if I may, the issue of the correctional, I'm happy you mentioned jail attack. Most people misconstrue jail attack as jailbreak. Jailbreak is when inmates, when it's in-house, they try to get out. Jail attack is when it's external, when people come to attack. That's what we see. And for us to be able to do this, there are a lot of things we need to do. Number one, a lot of our high-profile correctional centers, urbanization have eaten deep into them, either we like it or not. For instance, I do not see a reason why we should have a correctional center in Ikoyi. I do not see it. Personally, my own opinion. I do not see why we should have Kirikiri, Apapa. I do not see it all over the world. You try to take it to the exterior. You try to take it to where security agencies can be able to control the environment. Those are part of the things that we also need to look at as we continue to go on. Right. The fact, like in Ibadan, Agodi, I don't see why there should be.
All right, I'm so sorry, and thank you for explaining that. We're just almost out of time, and there's some critical aspects we'd like you to also touch on before you leave. Rest assured, we will hold you to account with the deadlines you've set. Remember December for remote applications for passports, and remember February for the international scene in terms of collection of passports. But let's move on to other aspects. You said at a recent event hosted for you by old schoolmates of your alma mater, Great Ife, University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University, that you didn't want to be remembered alone for how you manage the passport process, but more on securing Nigerian borders and enhancing internal security, in your words. Now, if you're looking at that, we must then talk about, first of all, data, collection of data, because it plays a significant role in security. NIMSI, which you spoke about earlier on, how we are going to harmonize data, because we have so many agencies collecting the same data from Nigerians, yet still not enough information, or perhaps being able to map out in terms of data for Nigerians and Nigeria. The second aspect is securing our borders, customs. This is a big area for many Nigerians and a big concern. Rather than, before we begin to even talk about how they interface with those coming in, is how to sanitize customs so that they protect the interests of Nigerians and the level of corruption at customs is reduced to the barest minimum. How would you manage these tasks in your time as Minister of Interior?
Thank you so much. First of all, let me a small point of correction. The responsibility for the protection of our border is not of custom. It's of Immigration Service. That's what the law says in the Immigration Act. It gives that responsibility, and custom is under the Ministry of Finance, not under Ministry of Interior. So what I have under me is Nigerian Immigration Service, right, which is responsible for who comes in, who goes out, and the protection of our border. That's what they do. And as a matter of fact, they're the first point of contact, and that's why I'm a bit quite passionate about them, because one, they determine our security to a large extent. A safe border is a safe nation. A safe nation is a safe universe. So we have to, if you can't protect your borders, you cannot protect your country. If you like my own opinion, has always been this: if you spend trillions of dollars on ammunitions and whatever, and you do not find a way to secure your border, then you are in trouble. The Nigerian border is about 4,047 kilometers. That is large, but obviously not the longest in the world. And also we border 4 countries, mainly from Cameroon to Benin Republic to Chad, from Chad to Niger. These are the countries we border in terms of land. Then obviously by sea, which is relatively safe, we border the Gulf of what they call the Atlantic Ocean. That's the Gulf of Guinea. We border Ghana. We border Sao Tome and Principe and others. That's our border system, both in terms of maritime and land. So what we are trying to do, I've been able to set up a committee now, an interagency committee, because it's not an agent. It's not what an agency can do. For instance, I'll give you an example. You spoke about NIMSI. NIMSI is very key, and that's why I'm so grateful to this particular government for bringing NIMSI back to Interior, because I cannot defend who I don't know. NIMSI is the custodian of our identity. Is the custodian. NIMSI tells me who you are. So it goes. That's the foundation of our security. Is the foundation of our internal security. So NIMSI's role in terms of our peaceful coexistence cannot be underestimated. Having said that, so what we have been able to do is I called the meeting last week, and I've inaugurated the committee headed by the Director of Joint Services in the Ministry of Interior. We have the Nigerian Immigration Service. We have the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. We have the Boundary Commission, because we need to define our boundaries. You cannot go and defend another man's land, and you have to. Your border is where your right stops. So we brought Boundary Commission because there are so many issues. For example, Nigeria and Benin. We have issues. We don't really have a properly defined border, because this border dated back as far back as 1906. And do not forget that a lot of these borders were not just agreed to by us and our neighbors. These borders were agreed to by Nigeria. Most of these, they are colonial maps between the British and the French. So there's a lot of issues that we have to resolve in terms of our boundaries. We have to do that. So Boundary Commission is in that committee. We have the Border Community Development Agency. Please, if you don't mind, I'll take 2 minutes to explain this. One of the major crises we have that I have seen is because we have a lot of our border communities as contagious communities. Contagious communities are communities that are within Nigeria, but culturally and in terms of a bit of loyalty, they are more aligned to the other part to our neighbors. I will give you an example. There are some, I wouldn't want to mention names, but there are some communities today that their children speak French, not English, as lingua franca. Right. It happens. There are some, because we don't have schools in some of these boundaries. So they go to school in the neighboring community. The anthem they learn from primary and secondary school is not Nigerian anthem. It's probably the anthem of the other country. The pledge that they recite is not to Nigeria, it's to this. So issue of loyalty, issue of patriotism is an issue that we have to. So we have to look at all these border communities. And this is time that the Border Community Development Agency, which is an agency that was established strictly to develop these border communities for us to be able to get their loyalty, for them to be patriotic to Nigeria. This is the time for them to do proper needs assessment. You can't just be, I told them the era when Border Community Development Agency will come to my hometown in Okeagbe, we go to Port Harcourt, we go to Kano to go and be doing projects. That era should be gone. Every agency must focus based on what the agency was established to do. And I'm happy now that they are part of also that committee. And just yesterday, I received a letter from the Surveyor General of the Federation why they must also be a member of that particular committee. So we are looking at that. By the time the committee comes up, we'll look at how to use both human intelligence and, of course, technology to be able. It has to be a cocktail of solutions. Absolutely. One solution cannot secure our border. It has to be a cocktail of approach. Both the human intelligence, both the technological issues, and of course, the getting loyalty from these border communities. Because if your border communities are not with you, the simple truth is that terrorists will come, hide in those communities, attack, through the safe passage, they go. So we have to look at how to secure our all our loopholes. It has to be an holistic thing. And this is why by the end, sorry, just a second, because this point, I don't want to lose it. Please, my apologies. We must now make sure that the solution we are throwing to problems are not just fire brigade solutions. Let us have a solution that will stand the test of time, so that it becomes Nigeria border control policy. Absolutely. It becomes our roadmap. It becomes like our Bible, our Quran, something we work with. Even if tomorrow Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo is no more Minister of Interior, we have a framework that will be able to sustain the security of our system. We have to look beyond me. I have to look beyond myself as Minister of Interior. We have to look in the long-term interest of Nigeria. And that is what we are trying to do by bringing this into play. And you can be rest assured it will be a solution that will work for Nigeria, that will pick at the end of the day.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tunji-Ojo. We can see the passion with which you have delivered your solutions, or perhaps proposed solutions to some of the issues plaguing your ministry at this time. And we do wish you success. We hope that when we have you next time, you would have recorded immense success, meeting the deadlines that you have set for yourself and promised to Nigerians on TV this morning. Thank you.